Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Wheels and Toys. We're back here with the Macan GTS and today we're going to do the first sort of big modification to the car. I told you when we did the introduction video, actually on the same place here out in the forest, that we were going to do a lot of modifications to the car. So the thing we're going to do today is actually we're going to do a tune. So we're going to use the COBB access port. This is the third generation of them. It's a super tiny little handheld device that connects to the OBD port of your car, and it does a very quick flash of it. So we're gonna do a stage 1 tune of the Macan GTS, and I haven't tried it before, so I haven't installed it yet. So I'm just gonna try to follow the steps that COBB tells you to do. So the car, the Macan GTS, runs a 3.0 liter V6. It's a twin turbo engine, and that produces 360 horsepower with a torque figure of 500 Newton meters or 369 pound-feet of torque if you're in a country that measures in funny little ways. So hopefully this will take it quite a bit up from that. So we're going to do a stage 1, and that's basically because one, that's the only thing that COBB offers, and two, and of course, the car doesn't have any other modifications. There's no downpipes, there's no upgraded anything else to the car done. So stage 1 and just the tune is what we can do with the car at this moment, but we might do even more fun stuff in the future. So what we can do, of course, as well is going to do the air filters from Flat 6 Motorsports and the intakes in a couple of days as well, but we're going to start with this. So how do you then connect the access port to your car? Super simple. All cars from 2001, I believe, all petrol cars in 2001 at least, have an OBD port, and that sits right in the driver's side well most of the time, sometimes on the passenger side if they haven't done the conversion or switch of it for a right-hand drive car or a left-hand drive car, if it's produced in, let's say, UK. But let me show you how that sets in the Macan and where we are connecting this one. So it's here on the driver's side. It's in here in the footwell, and I think you can see it. It's this purple connector up here. It's a little bit dark, but I think you can see it. It's up there, a little pink one. So it doesn't even have a cover on it, so it's super simple to connect it. And we have the kit from COBB here. So let's just try to connect it and have the tune set up. So the COBB access port comes with this cable. It's quite long. It's quite obvious which section goes in what way. This little one goes into the access port itself, clicks in like that, so it's sturdy. And the second one, this big one, goes into the OBD port. But before we actually install this to the car, because it actually installs, it goes straight into, or it mates with the ECU of the car, and it saves your initial install and your initial map of the car that comes from factory, and then it installs a new tune to the car, so you can always revert your car back to stock. This is something that was super important for me when picking a tune. So I was looking at the different couple of piggyback tunes, which are basically a little box that sits in the engine bay and connects to a couple of different sensors, and then manipulates all those that data that comes into the cars and also goes back out to the turbo and other parts of the car as well. So I was looking into that. That's a really quick install, but I just felt that with the COBB access port, I do get more sort of flexibility. Right now there's only one map in this that will fit this car, but I can do custom maps from other tuners and do other maps as well. So if you have an S, there's multiple maps to choose from. If you have a turbo, there are as well. If you have the S, I think there's a stage 1, there's the stage 2, and there's also like a burble map that sounds just ridiculous. It just like pops and bangs, crazy. I don't know what to expect for the map that comes for the GTS, but I think it's gonna be too fun. But I decided to go with the COBB because it feels that actually goes into a tune into the car. They can manipulate so much more than what you can do with a piggyback tune. And I actually got this used, so it's used. It's for a Macan, but it also means that it's uninstalled from the other Macan, so I can install it for a new Macan, and that gives me all the tunes as well. straight from COBB. So they update these ones frequently, and you get the tunes for free if you have the access port mated to or programmed for one of the same cars. So this one, it came from Macan Turbo, so it's still sort of downgrades for free to the Macan GTS and S and the 2.0 as well, I think. So we're gonna install this, but before I do, I'm gonna show you a couple of clips that I did just before parking the car here, doing a 0 to 100 kilometers per hour pull with launch control, and also 20 kilometers, sort of a rolling start to 100 kilometers per hour as well. That will give us some a feeling of how quick the car is stock. And then once we have installed the tune, we're gonna do the same run, the same place and everything, and I'll show you that as well. So we're gonna use the video material to actually determine the how quick they are, but we also be able to see in the dash how much the turbo actually are spooling up, or what the turbo pressure are basically. I think it maxes out at 1.3, I think I managed to see, but 1.2 is sort of where it stays when it's full. I think there's like a tiny little bit of space where it can overboost to 1.3. And the car, or Porsche, states that 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, that's 0 to 62 miles per hour, in this car, since it has the optional Sport Chrono package with launch control, is 5.0 seconds. Sitting here now, I haven't really measured it, so I don't know if it is quicker. Hopefully it is, but definitely it's going to be once we install this. So stock, it makes 360 horsepower, 500 newton meters, or 369 pound-feet of torque. But if you look at this chart from COBB, we can see that the stage 1 is putting out, they've actually done like the baseline. You can see the lower ones, they are from the stock engine when they did a dyno run. Then this is a map for 98 octane, which we're running in Sweden. I think it's around 93 in parts of the world, that's the same. And they state that that is a little bit less than 360 sort of pound-feet of torque. This chart only shows pound-feet, but it makes a little bit over 630 to 650 newton meters, because this chart isn't completely in depth of all those numbers. But I'll see if I can find them, then I'll put them on top here as well. But the car should, or this tune should give a little bit more than 130 more newton meters of torque. It should also give a lot more horsepower in some of the ranges. But for this car and what I use it for, it's that torque curve that we're looking for, and that will change the drivability of the car. It will make it much more agile, and it will hopefully make it compete a little bit better towards the turbos and the other quicker sort of the new GTSs and turbos as well from Porsche. So without further ado, let's look at those pulls. This is stock, 360 horsepower, 500 newton meters. Let's go. We got the car in Sport Plus. We also got the gauge down here so you can see the bars of the turbo spooling up. And this is completely stock, and we'll do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour with launch control. So let's see how that goes. Let's also try to do one from 20 kilometers per hour rolling start. Let's see if we can hold 20. Let's just do a kickdown and see how that goes. As you can see, it is actually quite quick for being an SUV, and for being a daily driver, I would say that it actually performs good enough. I mean, if it wasn't for the fun of it, I most likely wouldn't have tuned the car, but I set out to do all these modifications to the car when I got it, so I'm gonna stick to it and see what happens. Let's do the install. So I'm gonna just plug in the OBD port, then we're gonna start up the the access port, and you get to follow along on my first sort of install and tune of it. So let's see how that goes. But let's start with the OBD port. Plugs in quite easily, right? And the access port is tuning up here, or it's starting up. But let's switch the camera around so that you can actually see what happens on the screen. We have the COBB running. Before we go any further, we're going to turn on the ignition on the car. Not going to start the car. Okay, let's go up. That's okay. We'll see here. Install the access port to your vehicle. Yes, let's do that. You can also see here now that it states that the car is a Porsche Macan GTS, the 95B, that's the facelifted version, 3.0 liter, and the engine code here as well. So let's go continue. That's the engine. The maps are loaded. We can now see there are one stage 1. That's like the classic tune that they have. It's very close to the original tune, but it's not the original tune. We then have a stage 1 for the 91 octane or 95 RON, and then we have the stage 1 93 octane or 98 RON, and that's the one that we are going to run here. And then you can actually see that there are more here. You can see there's a lot of more tunes down here. They are locked for the S. So you can see here there's plenty of different tunes that you can go for if you would have the S version. But this is the GTS, so there's not many tunes to choose from, but we are going to go with the 93 octane 98 RON. So we do that, we press enter. Okay, it says that it should use a charger, but the battery is quite new, so let's just go ahead. Hopefully that does not sort of make us sort of be stranded. So the access port is generates vehicle data. So let's see how long that takes. So now it actually says like, do not turn off the vehicle, unplug the access port. So the access port is now flashing the car. So here it goes quite slow, but it's now 5%. Right now, while this is happening, the car is actually, it's like Christmas tree over here. It says like error inside of the car in the cluster, but there's nothing to really care about. It's going to be fine once the tune is actually installed. Now we have the car saying 100%. It keeps on being crazy. So let's see. It still says that it flashes the car. So let's see what happens when it actually, I mean, it has reached 100%. So let's see here. I think this is actually it. So let's turn the ignition key to the off position. Key's not on, but the car's on. Let's do okay. So that is it. Let's turn the key to off at least 15 seconds before we start. So that should be it then. The car should now be tuned. We should now have a lot more torque, a lot more horsepower, and a lot of more fun with the car. Before we take it out for our first test drive, I also want to tell you that you can actually keep this installed, the access port, in the car while you drive it. You do have a couple of different things here. I think you can see there's like, you can see like gauges. You have gauges. Let's see what more we have. Performance. You can measure acceleration. You can also do some troubleshooting of your car if that's something that you want to do. We also have, so we have the tune stuff that you can do, and the last one is if you want to uninstall it. So that's super important. Like if you are selling the car, and if you want to reuse the access port for one of your cars, if you want to resell it, you have to uninstall it, and then it sort of unpairs itself from the ECU and this particular car. And if you forget to do this, you can sort of do that unpairing and all that stuff with the help of COBB. but it does cost you a couple of $100. I'm not sure it will be worth it because there are new versions of this one coming out all the time. But I think you see it as well, or if you saw it in the video, that you can always update these ones with new maps from COBB, and that gives you even more possibilities and so on. But this one is updated. There are no stage 2 at this point. There are no other maps as well at this point. But I am looking to maybe do some collabs with some other tuners and then move that software into here and put it into the car. So you can do that as well. But we're not gonna uninstall it. We're just gonna unplug it, and we'll take the car out for a run. Let's do that and recap afterwards in another parking lot somewhere around Stockholm. I've driven the car very shortly, but you can immediately feel that there's a big difference in torque and power. But we come up here now to straight, and we're gonna try to do the same pulls as we did with the stock car, and see how that goes. So 0 to 100 kilometers per hour with launch control and being in Sport Plus, and then we'll do a rolling start from 20 kilometers per hour to 100 kilometers per hour. That was the 0 to 100 kilometers, and let's now see if we can come down here and go 20. There we go. Kick down. That's it. The car is tuned. The first modification is finally done to the Macan. You can definitely feel the power. I haven't driven the car very long. I just came here now to this parking lot. It's just like a couple kilometers away from where we did the install. But I gotta say, you can immediately feel the difference, and especially when you run the car, you feel the difference instantly when you touch the accelerator. It feels like the power comes much earlier, and you can see that on the power curve that you get a lot more torque early in the register. So definitely would recommend that you do this to your car, and I'm super happy that I did it. I told you earlier in this video that I was thinking of maybe not doing it. I would definitely do it. It's a big difference to quite a low sum of money given what you actually pay for these cars. So yeah, it's got the stage 1 from COBB. If you're a tuner and you want to do a collab, hit me up. Otherwise, we'll see what happens next. Let's see if we do the downpipes or whatever we are doing an upgrade. But next week we're doing the install of the air filters and the intakes from Flat 6 Motorsports. And sorry for sort of delaying all of these updates, but there's been a lot of things happening in life at the same time. I sold the apartment, I bought a house, and we're doing all the move while also going to vacation, as we do in Sweden for a full month. So we're taking the Macan and we're heading out and touring Sweden for a month and a half, starting on Friday. This is filmed on a Wednesday. So a lot of things are happening, but more things are coming to the Macan. Next week you'll get the air filters. You also get a new video for the 718 Spider. And let's see if we can actually fix the aerodynamics of that one in terms of the wind buffeting into the cabin. I will try something out. You gotta watch that one. But if you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. And if you don't like it, well, don't subscribe. If you think it's funny, give it a thumbs up. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Goodbye.